getting after it a little bit, but I appreciate everybody's effort getting here. It's a great day to be a Wildcat. We are super excited for this class. I think it's special. I think it's got great depth. In regards to recruiting, it's all about, for us, evaluations, ensuring that now at this point, heading into our fourth full recruiting class, it's a great fit for our football program. And I can't say just how thankful we are as a football program for our administration, for our staff on campus that have done such a great job in kind of parlaying this effort through our recruiting weekends as we promote the university and the football program. The community for all that they've done here in the last couple months is in regards to being excited about the football program. I can't go anywhere with someone not stopping me and saying, it was so much fun to watch you guys play in the fall, I can't wait for next season. And that really was a push through this recruiting campaign, if you will. We're super excited about this brand. I think our players, our current players, and their passion for Wildcat football is obvious at this point, and they did a great job relaying that message to our prospects. And then obviously I want to thank all our signees and their families, because I think they did just an amazing job in trusting us in their sons, and we're thrilled for that. We've got the best staff in America. I think everybody knows that's how I feel. And our families and our wives and our extended others for all the sacrifice through the last couple months in the recruiting grind. So with that, we will roll and take any questions that you guys have.
What were some maybe overlying qualities that you were looking for on the recruiting trail?
It's a great question. It's a great question. You know, we signed, and I got a couple notes here, we signed 17 guys that were captains on their team. 17 of them. 32 of the 35 are all conference players. 25 of them were all state, and 7 of them were state champions. We wanted winners. And when you talk about a state champion captain, you're talking about a young man that understands what it takes to win, understands the sacrifice. And then the blueprint for me was recruiting guys that were articulate in the classroom. And we were able to do that with an overall GPA of 295 of this group, with an average ACT score of a 20, which is pretty good in regards to scholarship football. So we're a hair under 3.0. We want to win this conference with a football team GPA of a 3.0, and we were as good as anyone in America at everything. So it was really important in regards to qualities, just getting leaders, getting good people in the classroom, and getting guys that played the game in a dynamic fashion, if you will, that had sudden twitch movements. When you watch the highlight film, you're going to see some guys that make plays, that do great things when the ball's in their hands, the guys that are physical on defense. One of the things, guys, we did was we said, hey, we've got to be dominant up front. When you watch the Alabamas of the world, you see a constant flow of football players in and out on the defensive line. We went out and signed 10 defensive linemen, 10 of them. And they are really dominant guys. It's a dominant class, and we're expecting them to come in and contribute to what is a great group right now. But we thought that was really important.
Was that the first position you looked at most closely, the defensive line?
Well, we knew we wanted to create an emphasis on our defensive line. In regards to what's the first position we looked at, I'm not sure we do that, but we certainly made it an emphasis, for sure.
We'll go from the linebacker spot. What do you like with that position?
Yeah, great group. It's a great group. Our linebackers are, I think it's got size, it's got depth. We signed a young man out of Crown Point, Indiana. That's Ronte Harrell, who is physical and he's downhill and does a great job for us. We're really at that FCS type level player. A kid named Jake Kapp, who is from Montini Catholic High School, where they won a state championship in Chicago. Physical, downhill, reminds us a little bit of Nick Krause from a couple of years ago in regards to that kind of player. Troy Mayon, who's Jake Mayon's brother. Now Troy Mayon, guy's going to come in and do a tremendous job as a football player, but you're looking at a young man with a 5.2 GPA on a 5.0 scale. I mean, he has no B's on his transcript. So you're talking about a young man that it really brings it in regards to what he is as a student. Zach Stuke, who is everything in the state of Wisconsin right now, and is Kyle Stuke's cousin. So when you start talking about the connection to the program, that locker room stays strong and stays healthy. So the linebacking core, and then also obviously we have Austin Potter, who is another all Catholic League player right outside De La Salle High School outside of Detroit, in just an upside that is through the roof in regards to being a star in the GLIAC. We think that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys is a pretty special group.
You mentioned familiar names. I saw there was a Cruzel on the.
There's a
on the list.
Cruzel on that thing too. Yeah, Tanner Cruzel is Trevor's younger brother, and he's going to play H-back for us. And Associated Press All-State kid, Petoskey All News, All Dream Team, the whole thing. I think he's a big-time long snapper. He's going to bring a lot to that H-back position. Very, very similar in his movements to Trevor, and we keep the Cruzel legacy rolling here at Northern Michigan.
You guys recruited a couple athletes from the UP, Scott Tripp from Marquette,
Yep.
Logan Lamb. You're bringing them in as athletes. What do you like about them? What are they going to bring to the table for you?
Yeah,
guys?
I think both guys have that quality, that it quality a little bit. When we recruited Austin Young from Escanaba 4 years ago now, it's amazing how the time flies. He was a quarterback, but you just knew he had that special thing, and we just had to find where it would fit. And I think Logan, as well as Scott, bring that. I think they have great workman-like attitude. They're workman-like. They go to work. They do the things they need to do to be successful. They're great character players. So we're excited for those guys in regards to our local players. And then Brett Johnson, who plays defensive line from Munising, I thought was clearly the cream of the crop there this season. So we're excited for Brett and his family, and they committed really early in the process. Derek Crane, who it was the lineman of the year from the Sioux, who was an offensive lineman. We'll probably see him play defensive line because of his size, but just physical, play with a pop, that whole deal. And then Jacob Lafeve from Iron Mountain. So the Iron Mountain legacy continues a little bit, and he's got unbelievable upside. 6'4", what was he, 215, 220 on his visit, defensive end, and we're really excited to have him as well.
You've alluded back to previous years in the recruiting process a number of times. How much different, though, is it now in year 4 when you can really point to things that you've accomplished as a staff rather than just trying to sell the goals to recruits?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the big thing is we've said this in the past. If you go back and look, it's different when you're trying to convince someone that what's going to happen, and you have to sell that vision, if you will. We're at this point, it's concrete. That we've experienced some success. We've beaten some really good football teams, and we've done it in a fashion that's been exciting, that's been uplifting, if you will. The program has got overwhelming in regards to our upside right now, and it was easy. It was easy to get out there. There was almost when are you coming? From the high school coaches. When are you guys going to be here? And 4 years ago, it was we haven't seen Northern in a long time. So completely different in regards to the high school coaches in Wisconsin, downstate, here in the Upper Peninsula, the greater Chicago area, and I think we had access to players that we simply didn't have access to 4 years ago, to answer your question.
Within the process that you as a coaching staff go through, how much do you expect your freshmen to be able to contribute instantly?
I think we were going to have upwards of about 80 to 85 players return, which is an unbelievable number for us. And I think in a lot of those positions we've got some really special players. So it's hard to answer. It's hard to quantify what our personality is going to be as a program in August. But I can tell you that everyone has tremendous value in college football, where it's not a sport where you need a shooter and maybe a guy that can handle the ball, and then another guy that's got a big presence and you can manage. Football is about numbers. It's about being dominant in groups with depth. It's about practicing properly, and every one of these players will have impact in our program in some shape, way, or fashion. Was that good?
Works for me.
All right. Good. Okay.
Who do you see contributing on special teams? Anybody jumping out at you?
From this group?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the special team deal is one of those things that's tough because you don't know where you're going to go. But certainly there's more than a handful of these guys that I could see contributing within our special teams. Everybody knows here at Northern, our special teams are very important to us. Consequently, we've been statistically at the top of that deal every year. Our best players will play on special teams. And I think these guys can factor in. And for us, the special team tag is all about understanding their role, understanding what their role is, and then master that thing, right, and really embrace it. So as a young player, sometimes, for example, a kid like Terrell Johnson last year from Montini High School, who just had an unbelievable finish to the season, started off as a special teams player, really embraced his role, and evolved into being probably one of the better freshmen, if not way up there in the league last year. So I think it's about understanding your role early in the program, and I think these guys fit that mold for sure.
Do you feel like you expanded your recruiting area at all this year? Because I know you got some Florida guys from last year. And
Yeah, no, I think Florida's always been a mainstay for us. We've always been able to bring in, 3 to 4 Florida guys. I think that's been an area where we've just touched it briefly, and we've been able to handpick some special players. In regards to our 3 Florida players this year, I think they're pretty special players. They're not just middle of the road guys. They're really special guys. We're excited to have all 3 of those guys. No, I think the blueprint stays exactly the same from the day we started. It's about understanding our region and capturing the guys that we think can help us win here in our region. It's about going downstate and spreading the gospel of Northern Michigan football. It's about getting into Wisconsin and being dominant in an area where I think this is a perfect fit, and then establishing ourselves in that greater Chicago area. It's exactly what we've done. We might have reached out a little bit to Indiana this year. That tips down below the southern part of Michigan that borders the Illinois border, but we haven't done a whole lot outside of those regions.
I know you touched on the defensive line. Was there any other position that you guys specifically said, hey, we really need to recruit this position hard?
I think we when you want to have a good variety of guys when you're talking about recruiting, and you graduate a class of 13 players, and you have some guys that drop off for whatever reason, and on this level it's really important that you flux in talent everywhere. So I think the biggest focus for us before we hit the road was, let's go find the best 35 to 38 players that we can, with an emphasis on our offensive and defensive lines. I think the symmetry up front is critical. I think we've got to be dominant up front to have a real chance to be successful moving forward, and I think we've made that a real theme. When you bring in 10 defensive linemen, chances are maybe some of them are going to evolve to offensive linemen, right? So you're recruiting really big athletic guys, and that's kind of the way it should work when you build a football program. So to answer your question, I know it was a little vague, I'm jumping all over a little bit, but I think these are 35 really, really special football players. And I think we've got great variety, and I think in regards to seeing the menu, it's hard to decipher which place put more emphasis on what, other than obviously the strong numbers, again, up front defensively.
On the recruiting weekends that you have, when you host the recruits, how much do the recruits interact with your players, and how much do you monitor just how well they interact to see if they're a good fit?
Yeah, well, what we do is we have a recruiting weekends here. We don't bring them in for the day or any of that kind of stuff, and it gives us a great opportunity to evaluate the young man, how he interacts with his family, how he talks to his parents when he's eating lunch. We're observing those kind of things. Obviously, we'll do a ton of football during the course of the weekend, and then we try to give them answers in regards to, so that one of the things we start off, we say, when you leave here this weekend, you're going to feel it with every bit of your fiber that all you want is to be a Wildcat, or this is not the place for you. In order to do that and do it fair, you got to give them answers. So we sit down and we give them a presentation with our housing, our financial aid, our admissions. We bring in people from academia, and we bring them in and they go through academic genres. We feed them, we tour them in the community, and then they get to spend some time with our players, usually on Friday night for dinner, and then they get a player panel with our players, which is closed door. No coaches are in there, and we put 7, 8 guys in there, and it doesn't matter who they are, really it doesn't, and we shut the door, and I'm telling you, to the man and their family, that's what creates this culture. Because it doesn't matter what's said in the bakery, doesn't matter what's said up the street, it matters what's said in that locker room. And these players understand right now what this culture is about, and they spread that gospel way better than we do right now. So in regards to how much they interact with our players and what kind of impact it has, it's unmeasurable. I think at this point right now, they're the ones that are creating this program and creating a buzz amongst our young players. They can't wait to be part of this football family.
You mentioned answering questions is a big part of what you do. I'm kind of curious, what are the common questions that you get from people, especially the non-UP people who might not be familiar with
Yeah.
the institution or the UP as a whole?
You know, in regards to our football program, I think the questions, man, it's generic. It's depending on the kid. It's you know, will I redshirt? It's what is a red shirt? It's you know, what do you run on offense schematically? What do you run on defense schematically? You know, explaining the scholarship formats, team rules. You know, how we kind of go through that process. You know, today it's a day and age where it's all about the swag, and they want to see the you know, the gear and the locker room and all that stuff, and there's a million other questions, right? I mean, but that's certainly part of the question process.
You talked about size. How are you feeling about speed on the
Yeah.
defensive line?
Yeah, I think if you watch us play, you understand we can run, and that'll always be a theme here in this program. And these guys can run. These guys can go. That's for sure. In regards to guys that really get it and go, Jake Mitrek, who's from L'Anse Creuse North High School, maybe is as prolific as any receiver in the state this year. And he came up committed early. I mean, he committed in, when was Jake's commitment? I mean, he was here for camp in the summer, and I think committed early September, and stayed committed through the whole process. Flies. Tony Palmer, straight run, can run. And just to name a couple of our DBs as well. Kareem Thomas came here, did a great job running the 40. Emmanuel Woodbury, who's a bigger frame DB, really ran well for his size. Trevor Johnson, who's a basketball player and is about a 6'2", 6'3" corner. Devontae Young did a great job running. And then our big guys, obviously, up front. I thought all the linebackers ran really well. And then, obviously, all those big guys really got around as well. So, you know, speed is always a theme for us. You can't play offensively here if you can't run. And you can't play defensively here if you can't run. We're a team that runs the football with effort. And, obviously, we're a spread offense, right? Right? Yes? So, yeah. Yeah, so we got to be able to do that as well. We got to be able to do that as well. That was supposed to make you laugh, man. Yeah, that was a joke. I missed that one. All right, what else we got? Anything, guys?
You're happy. That's what matters.
I'm happy today. Yes, I'm very happy, yes. You know, I think we mentioned it, 17 captains, 32 all-conference players, 25 all-state players, 7 state championships, a GPA, an average GPA of the whole group at 2.95, staff that just killed themselves getting out on the road and evaluating. Yeah, I'm happy to say the least. I'm excited. 5 outstanding local players from our region. Can't wait for practice to start this spring, which is April 13th on a Saturday this year, March 13th, which is a Saturday this year at 9 a.m. That'll be practice 1. Spring game is on April 9th, 3 p.m. It's all in front of us now. We were kind of doing that, and now we feel like it's in front of us, which is exciting. So yeah, I'm happy about it, for sure.